Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Welcome, history enthusiasts, to the History AI podcast. I'm Chuck, alongside my esteemed co-host, Marco. How are you feeling today, Marco?
I'm feeling like I've traveled back in time, Chuck. Excited to dive into a story that's not just a battle, but a pivotal moment that shaped a nation. Today, we're unraveling the details of the Battle of Stirling Bridge.
Stirling Bridge, a name that echoes through the halls of history. But before we dive into the clash of swords and the strategies of war, let's paint a picture of the world in 1297. Imagine a Europe steeped in the traditions of the Middle Ages, castles, knights, and the never-ending struggle for power and land.
And in the northern reaches of the British Isles, Scotland finds itself at a crossroads. The Scottish people, known for their fierce independence and warrior spirit, face a formidable challenge. Edward I of England, also known as Longshanks due to his imposing height, has set his sights on Scotland, aiming to expand his kingdom and assert his dominance.
Longshanks wasn't the type to send a polite invitation. His approach to diplomacy was more forceful. Scotland was to be another jewel in his crown, whether the Scots were amenable to the arrangement or not.
But as history has shown us time and again, the Scottish spirit is not easily quelled. Enter our protagonists, William Wallace and Andrew Moray, two leaders who would become synonymous with Scottish resistance. They weren't about to let their homeland fall without a fight.
And what a fight it would be. But this battle wasn't just about land or even freedom. It was about identity, about a people's right to shape their own destiny in the face of overwhelming odds.
It sets the stage for a conflict that would test the will of the Scottish people, challenge the tactical acumen of their leaders, and write a new chapter in the annals of history. The Battle of Stirling Bridge wasn't just a confrontation, it was a declaration that Scotland's spirit would not be easily extinguished.
With that backdrop, we invite you to journey back with us to a time of turmoil and triumph, as we explore the events that led to the Battle of Stirling Bridge, the heroes who emerged, and the legacy that endures.
So, grab your armor, sharpen your swords, and let's step into the heart of medieval Scotland.
As we embark on this journey to the past, it's crucial to understand the powder keg that was Scotland in the late 13th century. Tensions were simmering, and at the heart of it all was Edward I of England's ambition to bring Scotland under his rule, a notion that didn't sit well with the fiercely independent Scots.
Indeed, Chuck. Edward's desire to annex Scotland wasn't new. The death of Alexander III of Scotland in 1286, and later his granddaughter Margaret, the Maid of Norway, left Scotland in a precarious position without a clear heir. This was the opening Edward had been waiting for, manipulating the situation to assert his dominance over Scotland.
But Edward's machinations didn't go unchallenged. The Scottish nobility, divided as they were, knew the value of their independence. They were not ready to bend the knee to an English king. However, internal divisions weakened their initial efforts to resist.
Enter two figures who would become symbols of resistance and national pride, William Wallace and Andrew Moray. Wallace, a minor noble with a fierce spirit, and Moray, equally determined, emerged from the chaos to lead their people against the encroaching English forces.
Their leadership couldn't have come at a more critical time. By 1297, Edward's forces had made significant inroads into Scotland, capturing important castles and subduing Scottish lands. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the resolve of the Scottish people.
Wallace and Moray, understanding the gravity of the situation, began rallying forces. It wasn't an easy task. They had to unite a divided nobility and inspire the common folk to take up arms for their homeland. Yet, their charismatic leadership and shared vision for a free Scotland ignited a spark of rebellion across the country.
Their efforts culminated in a series of skirmishes and raids that challenged English authority in Scotland. Wallace, in particular, became a thorn in the side of the English, his name synonymous with defiance and Scottish patriotism.
As the momentum of resistance grew, Edward I recognized the threat posed by Wallace and Moray's burgeoning rebellion. He dispatched a large force to Scotland under the command of John de Warenne, the Earl of Surrey, and Hugh de Cressingham, tasked with crushing the Scottish uprising once and for all.
The English army, confident in its strength and numbers, marched towards Stirling, the gateway to the Highlands. The strategic importance of Stirling Bridge, spanning the River Forth, could not be overstated. It was here that the fate of Scotland would be decided.
And so, the stage was set for a battle that would echo through the ages. A battle not just for control of a bridge, but for the very soul of a nation. Wallace and Moray, leading a band of determined Scots, faced off against the might of England in a fight for freedom.
With the stage set and the stakes higher than ever, let's delve into the heart of the Battle of Stirling Bridge, a confrontation that would dramatically alter the course of Scottish history.
The morning of September 11, 1297, dawned with tension in the air. The English army, confident and well-equipped, approached the River Forth, ready to quash the Scottish rebellion once and for all. Their plan was straightforward: cross Stirling Bridge, defeat the Scottish forces, and secure the region for King Edward.
But the Scots, led by Wallace and Moray, had a plan of their own. They understood that direct confrontation with the larger, better-armed English force was suicide. Instead, they relied on strategy, terrain, and timing.
The narrow wooden Stirling Bridge was the only viable crossing for the English army, acting as a bottleneck. Wallace and Moray positioned their men in the high ground, hidden from view, waiting for the opportune moment to strike.
The English, perhaps underestimating their opponent or eager to crush the rebellion, began to cross the bridge at dawn. The narrow crossing severely limited their movement, forcing them to cross in a long, vulnerable column.
It was exactly what Wallace and Moray had anticipated. They waited until a significant portion of the English forces had crossed, but not enough to overwhelm them. Then, with the English vanguard separated from the main force by the bridge and the bulk of their army still on the other side, the Scots struck.
The Scottish forces charged down from the high ground with ferocity and precision. The element of surprise, combined with the strategic disadvantage of the English forces, created chaos among the ranks.
The English vanguard, trapped on the narrow bridge and the riverbanks, found themselves in a dire situation. They couldn't advance due to the fierce Scottish assault, nor could they retreat, as the bridge was clogged with soldiers still trying to cross.
Meanwhile, the bulk of the English forces could only watch in horror from the other side of the river as their comrades were slaughtered. The Scots, knowing the terrain and using guerrilla tactics, effectively turned the English army's numbers against them.
Wallace and Murray's strategy was a masterstroke. They exploited the bridge as a natural choke point, maximizing their smaller forces' effectiveness against a larger enemy. The English, caught in a deadly trap, suffered heavy casualties.
The battle turned into a rout. The Scottish forces, emboldened by their initial success, pressed their advantage, driving the English back. Hugh de Cressingham, one of the English commanders, was killed in the chaos, further demoralizing the English troops.
By the end of the day, the Scots had won a decisive victory. The Battle of Stirling Bridge was not just a tactical triumph, but a symbol of Scottish resilience and strategic acumen.
This victory galvanized the Scottish fight for independence, proving to both themselves and their adversaries that they were a force to be reckoned with. Wallace and Moray emerged as heroes of Scotland, their names forever etched in the annals of history for their roles in this pivotal battle. The Battle of Stirling Bridge was a resounding victory for the Scots, but it came at a cost. The battle's immediate aftermath saw heavy casualties on both sides, a somber reminder of the brutal realities of medieval warfare.
Indeed, Chuck. The English forces suffered significant losses, with estimates suggesting that hundreds were killed, including many knights and nobles. Among them was Hugh de Cressingham, Edward I's treasurer in Scotland, whose death symbolized the profound defeat suffered by the English.
On the Scottish side, the victory was not without sacrifice. While exact numbers are harder to come by, the Scots undoubtedly lost brave warriors in the struggle. Andrew Moray, one of the co-leaders of the Scottish forces, was gravely wounded in the battle and died some months later, a heavy price for his pivotal role in the victory.
The casualties and the valor of those who fought at Stirling Bridge remind us of the high stakes of this conflict. Each life lost represented a family shattered, a community diminished. Yet, for the Scots, the battle was a beacon of hope, a testament to their resilience and determination to resist English domination.
The battle's lasting impact on Scotland, England, and the broader struggle for Scottish independence cannot be overstated. Stirling Bridge became a symbol of national identity for the Scots, a rallying point that inspired future generations to continue the fight for freedom.
Absolutely, Chuck. The aftermath of the battle had far-reaching consequences, both immediately and in the years that followed. In the short term, the Scottish victory sent shockwaves through England. Edward I, who had underestimated the Scottish resistance, found himself facing a formidable challenge to his authority.
The victory at Stirling Bridge significantly boosted the morale of the Scottish people. It galvanized support for the cause of independence, drawing nobles and commoners alike to the banner of resistance. The Scottish army, under the leadership of Wallace and Moray, had proven that they could stand against one of the most powerful armies in Europe and win.
It also marked William Wallace's ascension as a national hero. His leadership and tactical genius during the battle elevated his status, eventually leading to his appointment as Guardian of Scotland. Though Wallace's ultimate fate was tragic, his legacy of resistance and love for his homeland endures.
For England, the defeat was a wake-up call. Edward I realized that subduing Scotland would not be as straightforward as he had hoped. The battle forced him to reconsider his approach to Scotland, leading to further conflicts but also eventually to negotiations and treaties. The battle also had strategic implications. The English were forced to withdraw from Scotland temporarily, giving the Scots a much-needed respite and the opportunity to strengthen their defenses. It was a pivotal moment that shifted the momentum in favor of Scottish independence, at least for the time being.
On a broader scale, the Battle of Stirling Bridge highlighted the importance of tactics and terrain in medieval warfare. The Scottish forces, outnumbered and outmatched in terms of equipment, leveraged their understanding of the local geography and the element of surprise to devastating effect.
But the victory at Stirling Bridge was not the end of Scotland's struggle for independence. It marked the beginning of a long and arduous conflict that would continue for decades. The battle entrenched the resolve of the Scottish people to fight for their freedom, a resolve that would be tested time and again.
The legacy of Stirling Bridge extends beyond its immediate military impact. It became a symbol of national identity and pride for Scotland, a reminder of what can be achieved when a people united in purpose stand against oppression. It also served as a warning to would-be conquerors that the will of the people is a force to be reckoned with.
The Battle of Stirling Bridge thus occupies a revered place in Scottish history. It's a story of underdog triumph, strategic brilliance, and the indomitable spirit of a nation fighting for its right to self-determination.
In the grand tapestry of Scottish history, the Battle of Stirling Bridge is a thread of courage, sacrifice, and the unyielding desire for self-determination. It demonstrated that even the mightiest army could be defeated with the right strategy, unity, and spirit.
In its legacy, a reminder that the fight for freedom, no matter the odds, is a noble endeavor. The battle's memory lives on, not just in history books, but in the hearts and minds of those who value liberty and justice.
As we reflect on the casualties and the lasting impact of the Battle of Stirling Bridge, let's remember the lessons it teaches us about bravery, strategy, and the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome tyranny.
As we bring this episode to a close, we want to remind you that the tales we dive into here on the History AI podcast are timeless. Each episode is crafted to be evergreen, providing insights and stories that remain relevant, engaging, and educational no matter when you tune in.
That's right, Chuck. History isn't just about dates and events, it's a living, breathing narrative that continues to resonate and inspire. Our journey through the Battle of Stirling Bridge is a testament to the enduring spirit of those who fight for their beliefs, a narrative that echoes in today's world just as it did centuries ago.
And speaking of today, we have a small favor to ask of you, our dear listeners. If you found this episode enlightening, inspiring, or simply enjoyed the journey back in time with us, please share it with friends, family, or anyone you think might appreciate the rich tapestry of history we explore together.
Sharing our podcast not only helps us reach more history enthusiasts like you, but also strengthens our community of curious minds eager to learn and discuss. Plus, it supports us in bringing you more stories from the annals of history, each with its lessons, intrigue, and drama.
Don't forget, you can always reach out to us with your thoughts, feedback, or even suggestions for future episodes. We're always eager to hear which historical moments or figures you're interested in. Who knows? The next episode might just be one you suggested.
And for those of you who've been with us from the start, or if you've just discovered the History AI podcast, remember, a 5-star review helps us immensely. It's not just a boost to our spirits, it helps the podcast reach new listeners and grow our community of history buffs.
Lastly, we're excited to announce that the History AI podcast merchandise is now available. Whether you're looking for something to show off your love for history or searching for a unique gift, you'll find it in our store. Check out the link in the show notes. And as a thank you to our listeners, we're offering a 10% discount on your first purchase. Just use the code TheHistoryAI Podcast, all one word, at checkout.
So, as we sign off, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Your support and enthusiasm make all of this possible. Here's to many more explorations into the past, unearthing the stories that shaped our world.
Until next time, keep the spirit of curiosity alive, and remember, history is not just about the past, it's a light guiding us towards the future. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Marco. Thanks for listening to the History AI podcast. Share the past, inspire the future, and until we meet again, take care.
Looking for the perfect way to show appreciation for the incredible mom in your life? Discover Exhausted Moms, a coloring journey to relaxation and humor, the coloring book that speaks directly to the heart of motherhood. Gift her an escape into pages of laughter, empowerment, and moments of tranquility. With Exhausted Moms, she'll find a blend of whimsical illustrations and inspiring quotes that celebrate her daily triumphs and challenges. Crafted with love from images I created for the mother of my children, each page offers a space for creativity and relaxation, a reminder that she's doing an amazing job, even on the toughest days. Give the gift of laughter, peace, and recognition. Exhausted Moms isn't just a coloring book, it's a hug, a nod of understanding, and a token of appreciation for everything she does. Surprise her with Exhausted Moms today and watch her face light up with joy. Because every mom deserves a moment to herself, wrapped in the colors of love and support.